We're talking about pay, and that is the amount I'm currently taking home on my contract here in Northern California. That is weekly pay. I'm not telling you that to brag. I just want you to know, and I'm trying to be as honest as possible about what you can actually make as a traveling physical therapist. Now, is that my highest contract take home weekly pay ever? Yes, but there are a lot of contracts paying that right now, and I've had plenty others that are very close to that. So today's all about breaking down the travel therapy pay and specifically how it's structured. So you basically have taxable and tax-free money. The taxable is like any other job. You have an hourly rate. So your company's gonna send you your contract and it's gonna have an hourly rate on there. So if you work 40 hours, for example, right now I'm in the $30 an hour range. So I am getting that consistently, and that is my taxable income. So every week I'll work my 40, I'll get paid that amount, and I have consistency in knowing it's gonna be taxed, and I get that money, whatever it ends up being. On the other side of it though, you have your tax-free stipends. These are set out between you and your company in the beginning, and those cover things like your lodging, your meals. It's basically what you need to survive at that contract. So the reason you get those tax-free stipends is really because you're duplicating expenses, and companies are I feel like they've become more strict on this. When I started out, I don't remember signing a lot of paperwork that said you have a tax home, and now every single contract, at least with the companies I'm working with, have me sign saying I have a tax home. They have me write the address, basically, so I think they're off the hook if you don't have your tax situation figured out. The reason they have you do that is because you only get to keep those tax-free stipends if you are somehow duplicating expenses. So as a traveler, if you're going to be getting the tax-free stipends, I have my tax home that I currently pay and maintain while I'm away on my contract. Having that and having those expenses lets me qualify for tax-free stipends, which in all honesty is really how travelers make that extra income. Now you can travel without having tax-free stipends, and you can travel as what's called itinerant worker, which I've done, and if you want to know more on that, please feel free, drop a comment below, let me know. I'll do a whole video on that. But in staying with the general information that we're going over about this type of contract, like I said, you got your hourly and your tax-free stipends. Now, when you get that, there's really not a lot to look over except just trying to figure out if this is going to be a good take-home pay for you. When you do those calculations, you want to make sure you get a line-by-line breakdown on your contract, very specifically from your recruiter saying your hourly pay, so you can kind of figure out what it would be after taxes, and then you want to know how much you're getting for your tax-free stipends. Now there are a couple websites you can visit. The popular one that everyone goes to, which is gsa.gov, and I'll link it in the description below. That lets you know, if you type in the city and the year and all the information you need, it'll tell you what the maximum allowed amount is by the IRS or the government or whoever solves that amount for that specific city. I believe, at least from my contracts, the companies are really good at not going over that. You need to stay below it. But you also want to try and maximize your tax-free stipends by getting close to that number, and those are things you can negotiate. So if you're getting basically your contract, you're gonna have your hourly, your tax-free, and then there are a couple other perks, like you might have license reimbursement on there. You're gonna have some income, or I guess like a stipend, basically you could call it, to get to your assignment. So if you're traveling there, you might get money to gas, hotel, but that may not cover everything. But those are the key breakdowns of your basic pay package and your travel therapy contract. Some downsides: if you do travel long-term like me, you may end up not having as high of an hourly wage, which if you're planning on Social Security when you retire, that could theoretically be lower because you don't have a really high taxable income. Well, time to wrap it up. If you have any questions, drop them below. Most of the questions I could think of were the GSA website, what's it for? Let me know if you want more information. And then what happens if you call in sick or miss a shift? Recently did this and lost a little bit of my stipend for that. See you next video.